Welcome to Electrified. It's your host, Dylan Loomis. Quick shout out to my newest patrons, Jeremy A. and Antonio N. Thank you for choosing to support the channel. Just a quick channel update. This will be my last upload until next Tuesday, the 21st. I will be out of town for one of my best friend's bachelor parties, and we will be going to the Daytona 500 of all things, so that should be an experience, but just wanted to let you know. Elon gave his interview to the World Government Summit, and we didn't really learn anything new about Tesla, but here are a few quick takeaways if you don't have time to watch the full interview, which is below. Elon said Twitter will get a new CEO when Twitter is stable and financially healthy, and he said that will be probably the end of this year. Elon said he is concerned about AI over the next decade. He played a big role in OpenAI when it was open source and nonprofit, but now it's closed source and for profit, and Elon no longer has ownership or a role. Elon said he would have supervised his kids' social media use more than he did because to some degree they were programmed by Reddit and YouTube's algorithms. Elon said he's still working a ridiculous amount and would like to work less. Tesla had to survive, but it's much less work now. SpaceX has a strong team. Twitter does require some time investment right now, and Elon is overall aspiring for an 80-hour work week. Elon still sees no evidence of aliens. But I think the most profound comments were on the dangers of a one world government. Now remember, this is at the World Government Summit. So Elon just said we should have collaboration across countries, but we need to be very careful with the amount because if there's only one, then of course that one world government would be much easier to collapse. Today is honestly a very exciting day to be a fan of electric vehicles and sustainable energy as the White House put out this new press release giving us some more detail finally on the new charging network, how these funds will be distributed, and what Tesla's role in this will actually look like. I do want to point out though, the Biden administration is still trying to take credit for the fact that EV sales have tripled and the number of charging ports has grown by 40%, when in reality we know that a lot of this is actually driven by Tesla. The heart of this press release is that anyone is going to be able to use this charging network no matter what car you drive or what state you're in. Effective immediately, all EV chargers funded through this new infrastructure law must be built in the United States. Tesla is in the clear with this one because they build their superchargers in Buffalo. And then by July of 2024, at least 55% of the cost of the components will need to be manufactured domestically as well. There's still plenty of work to be done, but this is awesome because it really is focusing on the connector types, the payment methods, data privacy, the speed and the power of the chargers, reliability, and the overall user experience, which is exactly what we've been talking about over the past 3 years. We don't get a ton of granularity for how this is all going to go, but things they're focused on, of course, a reliable experience. They're requiring that 97% of the chargers have an uptime reliability to be eligible for this funding. Of course, they're pushing for wider availability, and one where I still have a major question, they want to make sure that drivers don't have to use multiple apps and accounts to charge. So with many different companies still working with their own chargers, all now going to be using CCS connectors, that is still a question in my book. So what does this mean for Tesla? Well, as we've known for a long time, Tesla will open a portion of their US supercharger and destination charger network to non-Tesla EVs. And listen closely because the wording is very important here, making at least 7,500 chargers available for all EVs by the end of 2024. This cohort of 7,500 chargers will be across the US and will include at least 3,500 new and existing 250 kilowatt superchargers. So pausing here, a portion of this 3,500 number will be new either V3 or V4 and existing V3 superchargers, which means that the remaining around 4,000 will actually be level 2 destination chargers, which means a much smaller portion of the current existing Tesla supercharger network is actually going to be opened up to non-EVs. So remember, most of this 7,500 number will be made up of new V3 or V4 superchargers and level 2 destination chargers, not so much all the current supercharging network. I think that's important. All EV drivers will be able to access these stations using the Tesla app or the website, and Tesla will more than double its full nationwide network of superchargers made in Buffalo, New York. Now, that last line is pretty significant because right now in the United States, Tesla has around 17,700 stalls across 1,650 locations. So that line to me would imply that Tesla is looking to double these numbers, and they had a timeline by the end of 2024, but that seems unattainable. However, from Reuters, for what it's worth, Tesla did tell the Department of Transportation the plan was aggressive and could lead to a shortfall in the number of compliant charging stations available, given the pace and scale of deployment. So the way I'm interpreting this last line highlighted in the blue is that there's not a deadline of by the end of 2024 for this. This will just be within the next few years. But here's where the comment about customers using one app to charge wherever gets a little confusing, because you have all of these other partnerships using their own hardware and software. Hertz and BP, Pilot, GM, and EVgo, Travel Centers and Electrify America, Mercedes, ChargePoint, Volvo, and Starbucks, GM. So please tell me if I'm missing something here, but this point about the goal to be drivers not having to use multiple apps and accounts to charge by requiring that a single method of identification works across all chargers, how are they going to pull that off? It's been a long road back from a pretty serious injury for me, but hopefully this is the year I can get back to myself from a fitness standpoint. I'm still about 20 pounds lighter than I was pre-injury, but it was a blessing and I've learned a lot. Now that I'm regularly training pretty hard, recovering and digesting nutrients is critical. Learning how to breathe my body into a parasympathetic state so I can actually use the 75 vitamins, minerals, and probiotics that I'm getting from every serving of athletic greens to not let them go to waste has been a key unlock. So if your body gets stuck in a sympathetic state, you can't digest anything well. AG1 is the sponsor of this video, but I've been using it for years. Huberman, Lex, Stephen Mark Ryan, the Institute of Human Anatomy, and many others are all also taking and recommending AG1. Now yes, everybody's body is different, but I'd certainly encourage everyone to at least try it for a few months. Most Americans are nutrient deficient no matter how well you eat. AG1 is independently certified by NSF, so you can be confident what's on the label is what you're getting. This is surprisingly not the case with much of the supplement industry. You can get 5 free travel packs and a 1-year supply of vitamin D3 K2 if you use my link in the description below. It's a great way to support the channel and, more importantly, to support your own wellness. And maybe most importantly, there are already people out there saying this is going to wipe out Tesla's competitive advantage for their supercharger network. It's absolute garbage. Here's why. We just talked about the nuances of these numbers. So even if this 3,500 number is made up of all existing superchargers and no new ones, that would still only be 19% of Tesla's current superchargers in the United States. But in my opinion, the way this is worded, it's not going to be all 3,500 from the current network. It's going to be some new ones as well. So let's just say half for another comparison. That math works out to only 10% of the current supercharger network actually being opened up to non-Tesla vehicles. So important point, it'll most likely only be between 10 and 20% of the current supercharger network version 3 and above that will eventually be made open to non-Tesla vehicles. And as we've said now for months, Tesla knows the exact locations where there's capacity available where they're not super busy. So my guess would be those are going to be the ones that Tesla chooses to open up. And when you see absurd comments like this saying that because of this move, Tesla's current excellent reliability rate will decline significantly, just look at who it's from, Guidehouse Insights analyst, the same company that put out this completely bogus leaderboard for autonomy that had Tesla as a follower way behind the pack. Utter nonsense. And I'm not making this stuff up. Here it is right here from a senior policy analyst. There's no doubt that this federal charging investment threatens Tesla's competitive advantage. No, it does not. Because remember that 10 to 20% that will be opened up, those customers are going to what? Use the Tesla app, use the Tesla website, interact with other Tesla owners, be exposed to Tesla vehicles, hanging out at the supercharger stations. And it's not like Electrify America is just going to overnight become this awesome experience. Those customers are going to be comparing their experience to non-Tesla charging with the supercharger network, which is going to be mostly seamless. If you really think about it and just try to use some basic logic, this could actually increase Tesla's competitive advantage. In terms of the distribution for this $7.5 billion for the charging network, federal officials will handle 1/3 and states will control the other 2/3. The first tranche will be rolled out to states in the upcoming weeks. Replying to itself on Twitter, Tesla Charging said our US network will more than double by the end of 2024 to support our growing Tesla fleet and new EV customers. So Tesla Charging actually putting that deadline on the doubling of the US network, which seems like a huge undertaking. How much money Tesla actually gets from the federal government is still a question mark. Nobody knows for sure. It's TBD. One other thing I would add, these level 2 destination chargers that should make up around 4,000 of this 7,500 number, some of these have already been open to non-Tesla owners with an adapter. So overall, honestly, I'm super excited as a fan of electrification today. I think this is such a big deal. And again, it'll take years to actually implement all of these changes, but this really is crucial and the direction we need to go to try to have some conformity and easier understanding for people who don't watch videos like this every day. And if you haven't picked up on it yet, it does seem like the unofficial standard will be CCS in the United States, but Tesla and the NACS connector will still be the biggest and have the most points and charging locations, at least for the foreseeable future. It looks like the Model 3 line at Giga Shanghai will be shut down until the end of February, and we're thinking that this is for the Project Highland refresh. Some workers on the first phase won't be allowed on the production lines from as soon as Sunday. The only other tidbit we really get is that Tesla has been upgrading the lines in stages over the past 2 months. Initially, we weren't expecting Project Highland until sometime in Q3 in China first, but we may see it a little bit sooner if these reports are correct. So is it the Model 3 with GigaCast or Hardware 4? Maybe it's both. We'll find out shortly. Tesla filed a Form 5 just showing us that last year Elon donated in the neighborhood of $1.9 billion of Tesla stock to an unknown charity, most likely the Musk Foundation, as he's done in years prior. This donation would make him the second largest charitable donor in 2022, behind Bill Gates and right ahead of Michael Bloomberg. This is actually down a bit from Elon's 2021 donations that worked out to around $5.7 billion during the year. Doing the math, this worked out to roughly 1.6% of Elon's stake in Tesla. Of course, this move does have tax benefits for Elon, and looking at the 13G that went along with this, Elon now has about 716 million shares, representing about 20% ownership of Tesla, but this does include some options to purchase Tesla stock as well. The Mexico saga continues on. We get a quick new blurb that good news is imminent. The Mexican foreign minister met with some Tesla senior executives and they teased that good news is on the way. Rohan Patel, Tesla's senior global director of public policy, was part of these discussions. And for now, that's literally all that we get, other than this picture from Mexico's Secretary of Relations saying, "I appreciate the visit of Rohan Patel, Tesla's Director of Business Development. More good news soon." Here's some actual good news for Electrify America. Today, in a new press release, they announced the groundbreaking of their project Solar Glow 1. This, of course, is a solar project in San Bernardino County, California that will support Electrify America's charging network. This project is supposed to have an estimated annual production of 225,000 megawatt hours or 225 gigawatt hours. In layman's terms, it's comparable to the energy used by over 20,000 American homes annually. This new solar facility is expected to be online later this summer, but already all energy delivered to customers on Electrify America's coast-to-coast DC fast charging network is already backed by 100% renewable energy. How is EA doing this? Well, they've entered into virtual power purchase agreements for new renewable energy generation, and this latest project will be producing new renewable energy that may not otherwise be available. Cadillac has just announced that we are set to see 3 new electric vehicles from the luxury brand throughout the course of this year. They also said they're on track to build Cadillac Lyriq number 1000 by the end of this week. And the super expensive Celestiq is still on track for production this December. So we're going to hear about these 3 new EVs over this year, and Cadillac is saying they want all of them in production sometime in 2024. The man Joe T gives us an update on Giga Austin. As you can see, it's finally time for the exterior of Giga Austin to be painted. In a video shared by Chap Ambrose on Twitter, the Boring Company has begun their second test tunnel in Bastrop, Texas. On the Tesla configurator, the long-range Model Y variant previously was March to May for estimated delivery. That's been bumped back to April to June despite the price increases. And if you happen to see this quote from Charlie Munger, who said, "BYD is so much ahead of Tesla in China, it's almost ridiculous." Comments like this are just goofy. I mean, what was he actually referring to? It's such a general statement, but even still, what do you expect? Warren Buffett owns a big portion of BYD. They do not own any Tesla. They really don't understand many aspects of technology. Crypto comes to mind. So I have a ton of respect for these guys, but I personally put zero stock in anything that Buffett or Munger say when it comes to technology companies now and going forward. Don't forget, check out AG1 linked below. Grab those freebies if you want. Find me on Twitter at DylanLoomis22. Remember, no video from me until Tuesday of next week. Hope you guys have a wonderful week and weekend. Please like the video if you did, and a huge thank you to all of my Patreon supporters.